Welcome to the podcast. I'm Rosa Coelho, your host, lifestyle entrepreneur, health coach, and speaker. I've gone from being in complete overwhelm, burning the candle at both ends, and watching my health, relationships, and business suffer, to creating a life with more joy, ease, and abundance. If you're ready to let go of the overwhelm, reclaim your health, and push past your comfort zone so that you can unleash your next level of success to create a greater impact, then sit back as we delve into conversations as well as bring on guests to share with you tools, knowledge, and real action steps to get you there. Listen in, because you never know when you may hear something that changes everything. Hello, beautiful friend. It's so wonderful to be back. It has been a few weeks. Oh my goodness. So here's the thing. I got really sick for 10 days. I hadn't been sick in years, like even through our 3-year shutdown, nothing. And then all of a sudden it hit me out of nowhere. And I had the weirdest symptoms. Like I had like a slight sore throat that lasted for a few days. After about 5 days, I was a little bit congested, but not the kind of congested that you can't sleep at night. Like I could still breathe really. But my symptom was fatigue. Like I would sleep for hours and hours. I'd wake up, I'd eat because I'd be hungry. I never lost my appetite. And then I would sleep all night again. It was just wild. And I remember thinking like, wow, I would pay money to have my energy back. And so after about 10 days, I remember about day 8 or 9, I was like, okay, I need to start forcing myself to get some movement in, because I could tell I was actually getting better, but now my muscles and body were just used to lying around and doing nothing. So I started to do that. First couple days of movement were like, oh, kind of wiped me out. And then all of a sudden it was back and I was good. But I sometimes in those moments, it could be hard. It's easy to feel sorry for ourselves, but I did have moments of going like, oh, this is good, because one, that's how you build your immune system, really. There's nothing like building immunity to things other than catching it and then getting better from it. But also, it's always a good reflection to be super grateful for our health. Health truly is the greatest wealth. Nothing else matters unless we're healthy. And it's the honest truth. Money doesn't matter. Looking after family members, like none of that stuff is possible if we ourselves, and we can't enjoy it if we ourselves are not well. And so sometimes I think these little lessons are a blessing. And even though health is my biggest value, and of course I'm grateful for it daily, I still think that once in a while it's just good to get an extra, be extra intentional with it, because we all take things for granted. That's normal. We can't be in intense gratitude of every minute of every day. So anyway, I haven't been up to a whole lot other than that. I shouldn't say I haven't been up to a whole lot. We're welcoming quite a few ladies into the Simply Strong program for May 20th, which is so exciting. If you're listening to this, they've already been welcomed in over the weekend. For those of you that are like, oh, but Rosa, I really need to get in on that 6-week plan before summer, and I really would love how to do this in a healthy way, like shed the weight, but also do it in a way that I'm going to be vibrant and strong, and that I'm going to be able to keep going with what I learned in 6 weeks, then send me a message on Instagram and we can have a chat about letting you in outside of the group, because I do let people in outside of the groups. I just like to welcome everyone in, a lot of people in as a group, because it always creates a beautiful energy. So if you still want to get in on that, just send me a message. Instagram is the easiest, at RoccoFit. If you're not on there, then just send me an email at info@roccofit.com. Okay, let's get into today's episode, because I want to share the one exercise that's really changed everything for me recently and helped me to shed these extra pounds that inevitably happen over winter, because winter is just difficult. I can't get in as much movement. I still do all the workouts. I still eat clean, all the things, but winter is winter when you live up north. It can be very isolating because it's super cold, and it can be very icy outside, making it dangerous to walk outdoors and all the things. I know those sound like excuses, but when you're in it, you are in it. So some days are easier than others, that's for sure. So winter's definitely over, and I was tracking everything. And so I let me back up. I did like an audit. I asked myself, okay, why is the scale not shifting? And when I went through my list, I found it. I found what that one thing was. And this is the beauty of tracking everything, like tracking your workouts, tracking your food, tracking your sleep. Like I love tracking. And tracking, I know that might sound like a lot if you haven't tracked before, but I have really simple systems within the Simply Strong that just makes tracking really easy. It's not a big deal. And it's actually just so wonderful to have evidence so that you don't freak out. You don't go, oh my goodness, there's nothing I can do to get rid of this weight and I'm doing everything. And we get into like that victim mode rather than solution mode. And that's why I love having the evidence, because then you can audit and you go, oh, okay, well, I see where I can like move things so I can get things shifting. And that's powerful. So that's why I love teaching the ladies in Simply Strong, so that, you know, we all go like the year is a season, life is seasons. And so it's not about being perfect all the time. It's about being empowered so that, yeah, if we relax a little bit, we know exactly what to do again so that we can feel our best. So I went through and I asked myself questions like, okay, am I getting my strength training in 3 times a week? And I always say strength train at least 2 times a week. But, you know, if I want to shift things, am I doing 3 times a week? Yes. Am I following a plan? Am I doing all the things? Yes. Like recently I did come off the plan a little bit when I was sick, of course. But generally up until that point, I was very on it and tracking all the things. So then from there, I was like, okay, am I sleeping well? Yes, I was. Other than maybe a day or 2 here and there, my sleeping was good. I've got a good like routine around sleep now. I'm off my phone at night. Yes, I slipped up a couple times, but like I say, it's never about perfection. It's about consistency. So I would say since like in the last few months, I've probably been on my phone at night maybe 3 times. So that is not bad. So that was not going to be the thing that was going to be holding me back from my results. My sleep is good. Like I'd say I get maybe not an A+, but I would get an A. And then from there, I went on to tracking my food. Am I tracking and am I in a calorie deficit? And I'm going to share with you because that was something that I needed to change. I just didn't feel like the change I needed to make there was going to be enough on its own. I knew that there was still something else that I could make an improvement on. So what I cut out there was I realized I probably wasn't in a calorie deficit, because even though I track, we all get a little bit lazy with tracking. And it's those little things that we don't track that add 2, 3, even up to 400 calories in a day without us realizing it. Like grabbing a couple crackers here, taking like a lick of like a spoon with some almond butter on it, adding, like I love mayo. Like if I'm having some salmon, I'll have some like of my avocado mayo that I love, but I'm not measuring the spoon. Am I measuring like the spoon accurately, or am I just putting a spoon in there and going, that's good enough? Because that can make a huge difference, especially when we're looking at fats. And so when I was honest with myself there, I knew that there were tweaks that I had to make and that I needed to get into that calorie deficit, because that's the only way to lose weight. You have to be in a deficit. So I actually cut out mayo altogether because I know that I can't track it accurately. Like I just know that I won't. I'll be in a rush, like when I'm making a lunch or something, and then I won't measure it. And so I just took it out, and it's not a big deal. It's good to make like little sacrifices here and there. It doesn't mean I'll never have mayo again. Of course not. It's just right now I wanted the scale to shift. I needed it to. Like I want to feel amazing for summer. So the tracking, I knew that I could make some improvements there, but I was still like, you know what? It's not enough. Like some days I'm really great. Some days, yes, I do have those little extra bites here and there that I'm over, but I know that just making that change, yeah, it would help, but it would mean that the shifting would happen a little slow because I didn't feel like I was that far off the mark with it. Okay, so here's the thing that was the game changer for me. This could really help you too. And this might not be your thing, because you might do an audit and decide that it's something else or those things that I listed that you need to work on, because maybe this thing is okay for you. But for me, this was a game changer and I'm excited about it. So the thing was walking, because in Simply Strong, there is a walking is part of the program. You need to walk between 8 to 10,000 steps a day. I love to do a range so that on those crazy days, if you get to 8, you feel good and satisfied. If you get to 10, you feel fabulous. So here's my thing with walking. All winter, I did get to my 8 to 10 most days, but it was always on a track, like an indoor track going around in circles. It's flat. And yes, I walk pretty fast, and I've got this great walking buddy, Kathy. We walk together up there, and other times Jen will walk with me on a Saturday, and it's awesome, but it's just flat. Like there's nothing else, like other than the speed, there's not a whole lot we can do to make it a little more challenging. So I knew like that was an area that I could improve on. So what I did is I increased my steps from 8 to 10 to between 12 to 15, because I knew I wanted to do a big boost. So 12 to 15,000, but then I also added hills. So where I live, there's like this wonderful dog park, and it is on like kind of like at the bottom of a side of a hill. And so I have started making myself go up the trails, go up hills, down hills, and add just some more difficulty to it, so that I'm like breathing heavy when I get to the top, and I know that I've worked different muscles, and I've just added that extra cardiovascular to it. And so it's been amazing. Within a week, I saw a number I haven't seen since last summer, and I was so excited to see it. Now, when the ladies weigh themselves, and myself included, we always work with a range. So for example, I'm not going to say my weight, not because I'm embarrassed. I'll share it with the ladies anytime in the group. It's just because we shouldn't compare weight. It's just numbers, and we all feel best at what we feel best at. We're all different heights. We're all different, like muscle tone and all the things. But say the end number when you're measuring in pounds, I love weighing myself every day. So if it says like it used to say between a 4 and a 7, sometimes an 8, depending if my cycle was coming. So it was always within like 2 or 3 pounds. And then near my cycle, it would sometimes boost up to 3 or 4 pounds. When I saw this new number, say the new number ended in a 2, my new range is between the 2 and the 5. And so I know that I'm seeing a new range. I know that the trend is trending down. So even though I don't see that new number every day, I've seen it a few times. So I know that that's my new range. And this is such a much healthier way of measuring weight. It's looking at the range rather than the number. Like no one wakes up and goes, oh my gosh, like I've put on a pound of body fat. You're not going to put a pound of body fat on overnight. Like, yes, it happens over time, but it doesn't happen overnight. Chances are it could be something that you ate that led to inflammation. It could be that you're, had some bloating. It could be anything, like a number of things why there's like 1 pound. But when you're looking at this range, you relax a little, like quite a lot more. So I loved it. So it was exciting. I saw a new number that I haven't seen in a while. So I love the walking because of that. But there's some added things to the walking. Not only did it help me with fat loss, but also what's amazing about the walking and adding that in, as opposed to like adding in like long distance running or like an intense cardio session, is that you maintain muscle mass. So it's a way to burn fat and keep your muscle. And we need that muscle tone, because that is what really helps us to burn more calories at rest. It helps us to keep that toned look. It helps us to not eat away the muscle. We can do it in a slight calorie deficit, because if we're in too low of a calorie deficit, plus we're exercising intensely, it's almost impossible to put on the muscle. So it's really this fine balancing act. So walking is perfect for that. It leans you down without impacting your muscle. Next, it's just really good to de-stress. Like I absolutely find it the most de-stressing thing ever. I am just so happy. I walk when I'm happy. I walk when I'm excited. I walk when I'm sad. I walk when things are hard. I walk when there's like something I need to think about and resolve. I walk if I don't feel anxious often, but sometimes things will make me feel that way. So I'll walk, and it's such an amazing de-stressor. And finally, the other thing about it is if you're walking in nature, always in nature, even if we're outside. I mean, even if we're in a city, we're like at least exposing ourselves to the elements. But when we're around like, beautiful grassy fields and trees, all of that foliage and all of that in the forest, it's so good for our microbiome. And that's wild to think of, but it's true. Like the forest actually, they call it forest bathing in Japan, I believe. I don't know where I heard that somewhere, but it is incredibly impactful for our microbiome. And I remember when I was suffering from mold, that was one of the things my naturopath said. She said, get out into nature as often as you can. And I love that. And we know that it does something magical for us. Like when you take that deep breath in nature, there's just something so healing and beautiful and pure about it. So that was my thing. It's the walking. I increased it to 12 to 15,000 steps daily. I don't get to the 15. I get to the 15 maybe a few times a week because life is busy and that takes you a long time. Oh, let me give you some tips for getting this in. If you are working, if you are busy and you're like, oh my gosh, because 15,000 steps is about an hour and a half or more of walking. I really encourage you to do it in little bits. Like see if you can get 20 minutes in the morning. See if you can get 20 minutes at lunchtime. Walk around work as much as you can. Go up and down those stairs, like park far away, like all of those things that we've heard before. Like do all of those things and go for an intentional walk. But you'll find that the time you need to do the intentional walk will be shorter if you can get more in the day. So that's how I've been getting it in, is by really just like looking for opportunities to walk those extra steps. And it's amazing how you can get an extra like 3,000 or 4,000 that way. But sometimes it takes being very intentional. It all depends on like what you do for work and all the things. However, let me just say, if you have a job where you're standing a lot and you do get those steps naturally at work, I would encourage to add a bit of a walk too, because it's a different type of walking, which is very good for reducing our stress and our cortisol. And then you could still get some extra steps in that way. But just getting them all at work is a little tricky. So I'm just going to say that. I'm going to leave that right there. If you're struggling, I always think that going for a walk on top of being at work is a wonderful idea. Okay, my friends, it was beautiful to be back, and I will be back again with you next week. I'm feeling so much better. I'm so happy to speak with you. If you are like, Rosa, get me onto Simply Strong. I'm ready. I'm finally ready. Send me a message at RoccoFit on Instagram, and you can actually see the link on there too in my bio. If you go to my bio, you will see Simply Strong if you want to just look at the details first before reaching out. All right. Have an amazing week. Thank you so much for listening in today. I know time is precious, and I'm grateful you shared yours with me. It would mean the world to me if you felt an impact, a moment of inspiration, or learned something new. If you would share it with those you care about and leave me a review on iTunes. I'd love to know what spoke to you or what you'd like to hear more of. Your sharing and leaving a review would help so much on this journey to making an impact on as many people as possible. It's worth it. I know from experience, there are moments when something we hear has the possibility of changing everything.